Hello, my name is Talal Bhutta, and today I'm going to talk about assignment 5, which is going to be project budgeting. We are group 4, the NextGen engineers, and I am the project manager for this week for assignment 5. My name is Talal. Then our group members are Alex Maldonado, Piero Risi, Brianna James, Victoria Nunez, and Sai Karthik Dandamundi. So, a table of contents. What am I going to talk about throughout this presentation? First, I'm going to talk about the executive summary of what our vessel is and what the configurations are, and then what has been done so far, which will include how we came up with our vessel design, how we created structures for our organization, how we created the bill of materials and costed each part for future use, and then the Gantt chart, the WBS, and the LRC table. Then I'm going to talk about what we did for this specific assignment, which is assignment 5, and then end it with a conclusion summarizing everything that we did for this assignment. So, executive summary. So, based on once we formed groups, we did analysis and found out that the best optimal version for our vessel would be a size 34 feet with an aluminum material, single diesel engine, and a half cabin. So that's what we are going to go with. And throughout the whole presentation, I'm going to talk about how we came up with that conclusion. So, what has been done in the past weeks? So, initially, what we did was finalize the design configuration for the vessel, which is, as I mentioned before, is 34 feet long with aluminum material, single diesel engine design, and half cabin. So, and then we basically, for the next step, what we did was created different departments and designated roles to each department. So our major categories, as you can see in this picture on the right, are hull construction, which is assigned to Piero and Alex, then the propulsion system, which was assigned to Alex and Piero again, and then the electrical system, which was assigned to me and Karthik, the freshwater system to Brianna, sanitation system to Victoria, navigation system also to Victoria, and anchoring to Piero. So all of these different departments, the people had to find out what parts are needed to assemble the vessel and then find links for different parts and then get estimate estimate amounts of how much it's going to cost and put it in a tabular format. And the third task we did was departmentalize everything, basically the hull construction, the propulsion system, electrical system, and then we created the bill of materials as I mentioned previously. So the summary of what it's going to cost us for the bill of materials for all of the departments is going to be about $168,308. Then we basically created the WBS chart, the table, the Gantt chart, and the LRC. And let's start with the work breakdown structure. So this is basically going to break down each and every department and then what, say for example, the vessel project has its structure that talks about the plant system design, the construction, the legal, the labor, testing, and then the startup. And each has been assigned to each member of our group. Then the Gantt chart. So this was basically a timeline of how from the initial start of the group to the end of assembling the vessel and then testing it. What was the process throughout all of this, which is basically about 20 weeks. And this is what we have listed down. Which is basically talking about how we created a group, did our research, finalizing a configuration, then created the departments, the bill of materials, the work breakdown structures, the Gantt chart, creating orders. Then once you place an order, we were waiting for the parts to be delivered, and then how and what parts of the vessel are going to be assembled first and what are going to be assembled later. What's going to be the step-by-step process. Then assembly procedures as well, and like assembly manuals and maintenance manuals. Then we start assembling it, and once it's assembled, we're going to do some quality inspections on it. Then we're going to test it, and then after testing, once it's qualified, then we're going to send it to the customer. So this is the Gantt chart that we created that basically lists out for each and every week what's going to be happening and what's the time frame between that. So then we talk about linear responsibility chart, which basically says that So, okay, we created all of our structures for our organization. So, say for example, Sai was the project manager for last week. Then the operation manager was Brianna. I was the engineering design manager. Then the quality assurance manager was Piero. Business development manager was Victoria, and administration manager was Alex. So we assigned specific tasks to each person so that they could do the specific research required in order to work together and make up a summary. Then we talk about what has been done for this specific assignment, and the first thing that we did was allocated the number of hours needed for each job. And it has been split into three different categories, which is the professional man hours, the skilled people, and the unskilled, which is basically the workers who are going to be assembling it. So based on this, the total hours for professional man hours that we needed was about 225. For the skilled man hours, which would be the mechanics and techs, would be about 1,094 hours. And then for the unskilled man hours, which is going to be the people assembling the vessel, we would need about 1,537 hours. So the next thing that we did was come up with a weekly budget, which includes the hourly, basically the hours I just mentioned for each department, and split it into the 20-week time frame. And then we added the amount of labor we charge for each department. So there's, say for example, on the category side, you see we charge for professionals, it's $100 per hour. Whereas then on that second row, or we add that 25% markup, and then we add $40 per hour for skilled hour labor, then $20 per hour for unskilled labor. And that accumulates to about $155,865 for the total labor that's going to be costing us. The third thing we did was bill of material cost. So basically, from our previous assignments, we created a bill of material and summarized it. So we basically spread it out based on, okay, what's going to be assembled first and what is it going to cost. So we basically did this breakdown structure in the 20-week time period, and our total cost for the bill of material, as I mentioned in 3 to 4 slides before, was 169,000, and basically rounding it up to 170,000. And the next thing that we did was basically the last thing that we did for this assignment is what is going to be the overall cost and the total budgeting. So basically 5 months, which is about 20 weeks. This is the summary of what's going to cost us. And as I mentioned, it's like all calculated from an accumulation of all previous assignments. And the only thing that we accounted for in this one is indirect costs. And what's included in the indirect costs? It can be tool rentals that we rent to assemble the whole vessel, then what kind of permits are needed to safely assemble the whole thing, what kind of safety equipment do the technicians and the professionals who are assembling it need, what kind of equipment they need, like steel toes or jackets or hand gloves, all of these, and environmental regulations that you need in order to have a safe space for working. That would be cost under indirect costs. That also includes the rent for the warehouse that you're assembling this vessel in. So our total cost for assembling the vessel from A to Z, with including all the bill of materials, labor, and supplies, is about $660,257. And in conclusion, our total labor budget is 155,000. Our total material budget is 170. Indirect costs are about $10,000, and which basically accumulates to 661,000, as I mentioned here before. But this one is just rounded up in case there is any other expense to be accounted for. So this is our presentation, and our main objective was to be as cost effective as possible, and I believe we have reached that target with this. Thank you so much for watching.